Welcome, everybody, to the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. And we are on episode 41 as the NHL season rolls along. And we are a few weeks into it now. A lot of patterns starting to emerge and some big stories around the league as well. We'll be getting into all of that, discussing all things NHL here tonight. And as always, I am joined by Steele, usual co-host Steele. Another week of action in the books. A lot of unfortunate off-ice stuff that we have to touch on as well. Well, it's another week of hockey, another week of the 2021-2022 season. Are you ready to go?
And as the season rolls along, so does all of the great storylines. I am super excited about what I've been seeing on the ice and ultra disappointed about what I'm seeing off the ice.
Yep.
So being that conflicted, I'm ultra excited about a lot of great hockey, but got to touch on some things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's obviously the biggest top story in the NHL right now is everything that's gone along with the Blackhawks scandal and all of the fallout from that since the report was made public this past week. And just so much came out, so much details. Obviously, we've known about this, and we know that something happened, and we've known that for a while now. But we didn't know the specifics of it. We didn't know the details of it, and then everything came out this week, and honestly, it was just brutal. It was absolutely brutal to read through. It was brutal to hear. The immense failures of the Chicago Blackhawks as an entire organization, of all of their top executives, of all of the people that were in charge with Chicago, and literally every single one of them failed. And it was a horrible, horrible story. It was a horrible thing that happened. It's been, obviously, Kyle Beach came out and said that he was the victim. He was John Doe number one. That we knew that we didn't know who it was until this past week, and we've now know that it was Kyle Beach, who was a first-round pick of the team, and just everything about what happened is just so appalling and disgusting. And then the way that it was covered up afterwards, where they were more worried about the chemistry of the team and in the making a Stanley Cup run more so than reporting a literal crime that just had taken place. And it just makes you sick to your stomach reading through everything that happened here. And obviously Kyle Beach, his courage to come out and publicly put all of everything that happened out there on the table is to be commended by all, as he's an incredibly brave and courageous victim in this circumstance. And everything as far as Chicago goes is just disgraceful. And I think that's I don't think that's even really controversial to say. I think that's pretty much a fact at this point, that it is a horrendous thing, and the way that the Blackhawks executives handled it was just downright pitiful.
Wow. Gosh, man. I can't even build on that, to be honest with you. I hate when off-ice things come to the fore like this, or off-the-field issues like this come to the fore, especially when it comes to athletes and professional teams. It is of my opinion that it is of the professional team of which you are hired to have your best interests in mind. That being said, a lot of the trainers and things of that nature are supposed to have your best interests at heart and mind when it comes to your body and your availability to play out on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And this opens up a whole nother just big ugly ball of worms, because now all of this has happened And now you've betrayed that trust. You've breached that line that you're not supposed to cross. Look, I have a disdain for Chicago Blackhawks organization, management, not for the fans and not for the players. Okay? It is not directed at those guys at all. Those guys were innocent bystanders, or they were completely, they were wrapped up in all this in lieu of circumstance. Okay? So until the full story of everything comes out, I mean, look, I'm never going to go anything against the fans. This has nothing to do with the fans at all. And I feel bad for the Chicago fans that they have to deal with their team that's going through that's dealing with this. You know what I mean? Because this is the kind of stuff that's not supposed to be happening. This is the kind of stuff where organizations and people are supposed to be adults and take responsibility and be looking out for one another.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just the exact opposite of that. And I'm having a real hard time with this, John. I really am, man. I feel like this is a major congratulations to the John Doe victim for coming out, because that is the hardest thing on the planet to do, is come out and be the one that is paraded in front of the media and is paraded in front of all of everybody in country that says this is the victim right here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the victim is painted in a bad light because they end up trying to blame the victim. Well, it was because you did this and this that made them say this or made them do that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? A lot of that happens, you know what I mean? And this is very shameful. This is I feel bad that we even have to talk about this. You know what I mean?
It's something that never ever should have happened, and it obviously never should have happened in the first place with what
Agreed.
The perpetrator did. And I don't even want to say his name, the video coach, and I'm not even going to give him the time of day and say his name, but that should have never happened in the first place. But when it did, it was the responsibility of those who knew about it to act and do something about it and make sure that the right steps were taken after that. And that is where everyone in the Blackhawks organization that knew about it failed. Every single one of them. And we now know about that meeting that took place, that the coach was there, the GM was there, the assistant GM was there, the president of hockey operations, the whole executive group, the coaching staff, people high ups in this organization were all there, and they all knew about it, and they all talked about it, and not one of them said anything. All it would have taken was one of them to stand up and go to the league or go to ownership or go somewhere higher than that in this. Didn't need to be all of them. It needed to be one of them. And this would have been, this whole story would have been completely different.
Here we are now 11 years later.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, a lot of stuff is going to be hearsay, but here we are 11 years later, and this is what makes this so difficult, is because so much time has passed. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not trying to say that anybody's lying or anything like that, because this is not something you come out and lie about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in no way, shape, or form saying anything bad or ill about him coming out and admitting to being the one that was, accosted. And if I were him, I would be filing criminal charges if that's possible. I don't know. That's the only problem with so much time. I don't know what the statute of limitations are on stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean,
I
I don't know.
I know there's a civil suit going on, but I don't know
Well, I
what's
hope
available
so.
as far as actual criminal charges. But
just the fact that they lost their jobs just is not enough. I'm sorry, it just doesn't come across as enough. And the organization being fined $2 million, it doesn't come across as enough.
it could have been, it never should have happened in the first place, but the cover up makes it even more pathetic. The fact that rather than actually, as soon as they found out about it, that should have been reported to ownership. Should have been reported to the league. It should have been reported to the police. It should have been reported to every authority as soon as that meeting was had and everyone knew about this.
Yeah,
and they
nothing.
all chose to cover it up.
You know, we didn't see anything. No, we didn't see anything. We got an important cup run going on. And what happened in 2010? What did they do? They won the cup.
They won the Stanley Cup. But the fact that Joel Quenneville was more worried about affecting team chemistry in the playoffs instead of actually reporting a crime is just this is as disgusting as it gets with what's gone on here. And it should have been something that was dealt with in 2010 when it happened. And the fact that the organization and higher ups in this organization knew what had happened, and they still allowed this video coach to be around the team and to celebrate the Stanley Cup win and to just continue on like normal. And not one of them could stand up and say anything. Not one of them could report to ownership. Not one of them could report to the league. And then now it's coming out that Kyle Beach did report to the NHLPA, and they didn't do anything. And that the NHLPA knew about this and did nothing. And Donald Fair is under a lot of fire now because of that. As the head of the NHLPA, the amount of people that did nothing when they knew about this is just astounding to me.
See, John, I was unaware of that.
Yeah, it says that he told an NHLPA doctor and the NHLPA knew about it and that they didn't do anything.
Look, I'm really sorry about, there's a lot of good things going on right now in the league, but this is not one of them. And I'm sorry that we have to talk about this. And it is what it is. You know what I mean? The fact that we do have to talk about this, I think this is beyond reproach. I don't even think John, I don't even know what to say. I just don't even know what to. There is really nothing to say because anything coming out of Chicago is going to even be remotely excusable.
No.
Nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. There's nothing you're going to be able to say that I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, it's cool, no problem. Nope, nothing. Not a freaking thing, right?
No,
and what do you do? So now what? Okay, so the victim has come out, and hopefully, I'm really hoping that Chicago Blackhawks organization does right by this man.
I would certainly hope so.
And because he obviously has suffered for quite a long time, as a lot of these victims tend to do, because they don't come out and say anything, and because it does take a long time, you know what I mean, for them to come to light with some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so you are exactly right, John. He is very brave. And the fact that he even told the NHLPA, man, that just makes this goes even deeper, and it just stings even more, and it just creates a bigger. Oh gosh, man, I'm beside myself with disdain.
It's a horrendous black mark on the entire NHL. And I don't think it's done. I think it's going to keep going
Nope.
deeper. There more and more details are going to come out. I think the list of people that knew about this is going to grow. I think the list of people that did nothing is going to grow. And this is far from over.
Okay. That's even wow. That really, man, when when this story first broke, and I was like, wow, no, this can't be right. And I started reading, and I was just like, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, and then I started reading about the fact that Quenneville was instrumental in saying exactly what you said as far as not wanting to mess with the team chemistry.
Talk about a pathetic response.
Are you that crass that somebody, a brother on your team? I mean, look, those guys spend every waking moment with each other for the better part of 8 months. Yeah? Training camp, the full season, the whole 9 yards, a better part of 8 months. They spend more time with them guys than they usually do with their families.
And
on average, right? You know what I mean? So, that's a brotherhood there. That's a group of guys that you go to war with every day, every night. There's nothing there. There's no. I mean, do you get what I'm going though with that?
yeah,
Like,
it's just the response is just so inexcusable. Like how if you're the head coach of a team and you find out about something like this that has happened to a player. Now Beach was a call up for the postseason, but he was in the AHL.
So
he was there in training camp. He was there for the preseason. He was there as a call up during the playoffs. You know this happened to one of your players, and your response as a human, not even as a hockey coach, but as a human being,
that's go that far.
Is I care more about team chemistry. We can't deal with this right now. Let's wait until later on.
Excuse you.
Imagine if, like, I don't know, does Joel Quenneville have children? But imagine if that was one of your children and your response is team chemistry is more important.
Man, do you think that's a good recruiting tool?
I think it's pathetic, and I am very, very happy that Joel Quenneville is no longer in the NHL.
And you know what? Kind of a little hindsight on this now that Philadelphia, I mean, I was unaware of all of this. I was one of those people that was clamoring for Quenneville to come to Florida or come to Philadelphia and be the coach there when, before Vigneault was hired.
Yeah.
I really felt that Quenneville was going to be the coach, and he did some things in Florida, but oh gosh, John, all I can say is that the only thing that's going to be able to forgive them is the Lord. Because man, that's tough. I am, like I said, man, I am beside myself with disdain about this entire story, about this entire situation, about everything that's going on here with this, about the lack in response of the Chicago Blackhawks, the lack in response, excuse me, in the NHL. And leading up to this, all we saw was a conversation with Bateman. Right? Like that was the only real like little piece of news snippet that was released, was that there was going to be a meeting with Bateman. Right? And then we started seeing the rumors, oh, there's going to be a coaching change in Florida, blah 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 blah, because this had to come from, the NHL. And it's like, man, I'm sorry we have to talk about this, John. This is really sad, man. I really do not want to be talking about this.
No, it's a horrible situation, and I think I've said everything that I have to say about it. But this is such a big thing now, then such a horrible look for the NHL and what they allowed to happen and what the Blackhawks allowed to happen, and all you can hope is that it never happens again.
Actually, what I can hope for, and that was what I was going to ask you, is this. So, yeah, Quenneville's already resigned, and some heads rolled in Chicago, but what, and they were fined a pithy, and I mean pithy, $2 million.
Yeah, that's nothing to the Chicago Blackhawks organization.
For me and you, $2 million to the Chicago Blackhawks, for me and you, that's like leaving a $2 tip. Okay? They just shelled out how much money for the team that's on the ice right now?
Yeah.
And you're trying to talk to me about a $2 million fine. Number one, that is shameful right there just from the NHL, and saying it's only a lousy $2 million fine. Come on, are you kidding me? And then all you see is Quenneville resigns, and one or two upper management from Chicago moves
Bowman
on.
And McDonough are gone, and everyone else from Chicago was already gone. And Cheveldayoff, nothing's happening to Kevin Cheveldayoff. The league basically cleared him, even though he was in the room. He was in that meeting.
So there you go. And then there were none.
And I don't think this is done. I think there are going to be more names that eventually come out here.
John, I really hope that there is people's heads rolls on this. I really, really do, because this is utterly, disgustingly shameful.
Yep.
I mean, I can't even put it into words. How's that? Can't even put it into words.
No, it's terrible, and I think we've pretty much said all that there is to say.
Yeah, can we please move on? Yeah. I don't look. I'm not taking anything away from him at all. And the fact that we talked about this for the last 23 minutes, you know what I mean? We care a lot about this league. We care a lot about the people that play in this league. And we care a lot about the people that watch all this stuff. Okay? And when these kinds of things happen, it damages people. It creates rifts. It creates distrust. It makes you not want to be part of a lot of the good things that's associated with the NHL. When you see that NHL shield, 99% of the time, it represents something good. Okay? Whether it be guys that go out of their way to help out charities, or teams that go out of their ways to help out other things, or that do things in the community. There's almost every single NHL team is deeply involved in the community, deeply involved in charity work for their communities in which they play in. Okay. And when you see something like this come out, it just makes all that hard work just turn into ash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because now when people see that shield, they don't see that good anymore now.
It taints the shield.
It does. And I hate to bring in that NFL cliche where, you know, respect the shield and blah, blah, blah. But that shield represents every single hockey mom. That shield represents every single family that sacrifices everything they have so that their kid can hear their name called at the NHL draft and suit up for that team and go play. Okay? So there. I'm off my box now. I'm sorry.
Yes, so moving on, there's actual hockey happening. Despite the biggest story in the hockey world being off the ice, there is hockey happening. And
Yes,
we've still got a couple of undefeated teams. Now, they're both playing tonight, so that could potentially change. But we do have 2 undefeated teams left in the NHL. One of those being the Florida Panthers, who Joel Quenneville just resigned from as head coach. They're actually playing their first game with interim coach Andrew Brunette tonight.
Yep.
And the Carolina Hurricanes are also undefeated as well. They're off to an absolutely tremendous start, picking up right where they left off last season. Florida 7-0-0 to this point. Carolina 6-0-0. Both of these teams still have not lost a game yet. And, now we're, 3 weeks into the year. That's pretty impressive this late in the NHL season.
Before the Wednesday night game, the late Wednesday night game when Edmonton fell, that was the first time, the first 5 games, or within the first 5 games of the, or the first 7 games of the season, there were 5 teams that had won 5 games, at least 5 games with no losses.
Yeah, there were 5 undefeated teams that were at least 5-0 to start the year.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. I said it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that
5
changed.
teams that had won at least 5 wins and no losses. Some teams with more, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So until that loss from Edmonton, and that started the downhill spiral of some of the other teams. But the fact that we had that many undefeated teams that deep into the first 2 weeks or so of the season is unprecedented. I mean, that was record-setting right there. You know what I mean? The fact that they were not just, like they were, some of the other teams are like, they played 4 games and they're 2-1-1. You know what I mean? But no, we're talking about complete regulation wins. Yeah. No overtimes, just straight regulation wins. Okay, so the fact that we're getting Florida is still undefeated, Carolina still undefeated. Man, I'll tell you what, I've been trying to watch as much of those 2 teams as I can. And boy, they are definitely living up to the hype. They just got Florida is just. It just seems like they they picked up where they left off last year, but they've added some depth. And they've added a little bit more scoring. You know what I mean? And Bob.
That's what I was just going to say. How about Sergey Bobrovsky?
Like last year, right? We all were saying last year that and I quote, if Bob played 80% of the way he did in his Vezina years, Florida could have a shot.
Yep.
Right? That was what we were saying last year. Bob did not play even remotely close to 80% or 85% of his Vezina caliber self last year at all, and Florida was not too shabby. Okay, they finished ahead of Tampa Bay in the standings. Yep. They finished a higher seed in the standings in Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, they ran into Tampa Bay in the playoffs and got mulunched. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I have to tell you, We came in with this year going, yeah, all right. Spencer Knight looks really good.
Yeah.
And if Bob puts one skate afoot, there's Spencer Knight ready to pounce.
Mm-hmm.
And he's already played one game so far this season, or two, I believe, and he's won both of them games.
Yep.
So there's somebody knocking on the door, somebody ringing the bell. Bob's got competition, and he's a young buck coming up. So that makes sense that Bob's playing real well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be talking more about Bobrovsky this coming week. So sneak preview for all of you guys listening to this live about a video coming up this week. But so I don't think there's a goaltender that I have beaten up on more than Sergey Bobrovsky over the past 2 years.
Agreed.
He after signing
I'll agree with that.
after signing that deal for $10 million per season, his first 2 years were bad. I mean, they were downright bad for him in Florida. His first year, he had a 3.23 goals against average and a .900 save percentage on the dot. I mean, I would want better than that from a goaltender making $1 million a year. Never mind 10. And then last year, his numbers got a little bit better last year, but so did the team in front of him. He still gave up 2.91 goals against per game and only had a .906 save percentage. Still very mediocre numbers from Sergey Bobrovsky, who's supposed to be an elite goaltender.
Vezina caliber.
So far this season, Vezina, Sergey Bobrovsky is back. 1.79 goals against average and a .946 save percentage.
That's hot.
Sergey Bobrovsky is finally playing like he's being paid to play, and that makes the Panthers even better than they were last season. And the Panthers were a very good team last season. They're better this year than they were last year.
Eklund back fully healthy helps big time.
Ekblad on the back end has been huge for them already.
Big time. So that helps tremendously, but they're getting really good defensive play from all parties concerned. They're getting great offense. I mean, Florida is capable of scoring from anywhere and at any time in any situation. It doesn't matter if it's the power play or whatever. I mean, shorthanded even too. What? Florida's a good team this year, and if you don't watch out, man, Florida's gonna knock Tampa Bay off.
I
just think they will.
I think Florida's the best team in the league right now.
I mean, especially with Kucherov being down now for 10 weeks, maybe 8 to 10 weeks. Right. So, and they're trying to put it together. Tampa Bay, but they lost so much depth. If Tampa Bay
the last few,
if Tampa Bay wins out and makes it to the Cup, I want their coach to win the Coach of the Year. Because that would be, come on, right? Come on.
How about this? How about this for the Florida Panthers? This is not counting tonight. This is just 7-0-0 their first 7 games. 31 goals for in 7 games. That's over 4 per game. And they've only given up 13.
That's a pretty nice little differential there.
Plus 18 goal differential through their first 7 games. The best in the league. The only other team that's even really close, the other undefeated team, the Carolina Hurricanes, who have a plus 17 goal differential through their first 6 games. Carolina's got 25 goals for, only 8 against. And again, that's not counting tonight's numbers, so I don't know what's happening tonight. But 25 goals for, only 8 against for Carolina.
Good gravy.
I think these two teams have kind of, put themselves into the... they're separated, I think, from a lot of the other teams as, being the top teams right now, these two.
I have to agree. Now, my only concern is as long as they can just stay healthy and maintain, because that's going to be the thing with any team, as long as they can stay healthy, because with anybody and anything, your availability is what helps propel your team. And if you're available, that means you're playing and your team's doing well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as long as these teams can stay healthy, and to be quite honest with you, I don't see them having a problem with any team in the league, East or West, it doesn't matter. I just don't see them having a problem facing up against any team.
No, they're probably going to be, they're going to be expected to win every night.
Maybe against each other.
Yeah, against each other.
That would be.
I don't know when Carolina and Florida play for the first time, but what a game that's going to be when those two meet up.
Oh boy.
I don't know
Let's
if
break
they'll.
out crack research staff.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll still be undefeated by the time that comes, because they're not in the same division, so that definitely.
Oh yeah, see now that's
could
what's
be a
gonna
while.
Make it. Yeah, let me look here and see, man.
I got Carolina's schedule up.
Yeah, it's a while.
They play Saturday, November 6th.
Yeah, there you go. I'm looking at it right now.
Saturday, November 6th is the first time that these two teams play. Now actually, holy cow, looking at Carolina's schedule, they could still be undefeated. They have Chicago tonight. They have Arizona on Sunday. They have Chicago again on Wednesday. And then their next game after that is Florida. So Carolina, if they win the games that they should against Arizona and Chicago, still won't have a loss by the time that they meet up. The Panthers, right. I know that they play the Bruins tomorrow.
Yeah, that's gonna be, oh boy.
Yeah, that's good. I don't.
That's gonna be a good game, man.
I don't have high hopes for that one after the way Wednesdays went.
Yeah.
But let's see. Now Florida has a tougher schedule. They have the Bruins tomorrow, and then they have the Capitals on Thursday.
Yeah,
and then they play.
But they have a big gap there.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of days off there from the. Right. They don't play after they play tomorrow. So they don't play until Thursday. Then they have to play against the Caps.
Yeah, but still though, and then they have a night off, and then they play. Then they Saturday.
Play Carolina Saturday. Yeah. They could still both be undefeated for that matchup on November 6th.
And it's at Florida.
At Florida. It is in Florida.
I have a feeling that when we do the show next week, that will probably be tied for our game pick of the week to watch.
That will be the game of the week, I think, for sure, when those two teams meet up.
What do you think, baby?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Oh, my gosh. You know what? It's kind of funny because that's just past what we do for this show for this week.
Yeah, it's
just past.
Just past it.
Right, we stop at Thursday.
Yeah, so it'll be next week's show.
Right, so next week's show. Guess what we'll be talking about next week's show?
And we have to try and pick a winner of that game.
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you, John?
Yeah.
You had to go there, didn't you? I don't know. Oh boy, that's of all games, that's going to be a coin flipper right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a coin flipper right there. So, the fact that we were able to speak of these teams that are undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the good in the NHL. When you look at what's been going on as far as McDavid just exploding with points, and Florida playing well, Carolina playing well, and then you look at there's been some teams that still haven't won a game yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, not a single game. Haven't won a single game.
Yep.
I mean, 5, 6, 3, whatever number you want to throw in there. That uh, look, we expected Arizona to not really be a good team this year. You know what I mean? But 0 wins after 7 games now?
Let's see. Arizona is 0-6-1.
Yeah, 7 games. So the other team that I'm shocked to see on this list of no wins is those aforementioned team from the Windy City.
0-5-2, Chicago Blackhawks.
So that team went out and spent a lot of money for a rebuild, quote unquote, or the attempted to finish the rebuild or whatever the case was. All that money they spent has netted them this many wins so far.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but that's an expensive loss column.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the Jones contract, the Fleury trade, the McCabe contract, the moves that this team made where they were trying to jump from being, the middle of the road team that they were last year into being a contender again. They were trying to immediately make that leap into a contender status. And it has failed absolutely miserably.
Yep. I mean, Fleury has been a shell of his former self.
He's been atrocious this year.
It's a shame that, and it's not necessarily, you can't necessarily say, oh, well, the defense is playing really badly in front of him.
Well, they are,
okay,
but
they are.
There's plenty of blame to go around. Like, Fleury's been bad.
That's what I mean.
His analytics are not good this year. He's giving up bad goals. He's given up like 5 goals a game. It's ridiculous. He's been bad. The defense has also been horrendous. All of their big players, their metrics are terrible. They're not finishing, which is leading to way less goal scoring than what they should be getting. And they've given up 30 goals in 7 games. 30 goals against in 7 games.
That's
There are teams that it takes 20 games for them to give up 30 goals.
I mean, and then there's teams like, say, Florida, who've scored 31 goals.
Yeah.
In that many games. You know what I mean? That's like 4.1 something goals a game.
Yeah, they're over 4 goals a game, and Chicago's over 4 goals a game against.
That's what I mean. Like, wait a minute.
Just brutal defense, brutal goaltending, just brutal at keeping the puck out of their net.
That would be a good way to put it. Just like, okay, when they were handing out, this is how you keep the puck out of the net. There was nobody from Chicago in that line.
No.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
No.
That's just kind of calling it like I see it. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. But maybe they can I hope that they can do things there to hopefully turn things around and make things better there, because that team and that city and those fans deserve better. Okay? And that's just what I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, it's been a really brutal start for the Blackhawks. And obviously still early. We'll see if they can get the ship headed in the right direction at some point here. But I've got to imagine that a coaching change can't be too far off if this streak continues. I mean, if you're 10 games in and you haven't won a game, there obviously has to be changes made at that point.
And it can't just be. It has to be. It has to be a coach.
Oh,
at this point, it
Colleton handed the whiteboard to the players and told them to drop their own plays. So, is he even really coaching at this point? I mean, I've never seen that before. Like,
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, during the Red Wings game, they were down by 3 goals in the third period. They called a timeout, and then Jeremy Colleton handed a blank whiteboard to the players, and they drew up what they were going to do. I have never seen that before.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of times assistant coaches do the whiteboard and not the head coach, but I've never seen a coach hand it to the players and just like, here you go, do whatever you want. I mean, that was I've never seen that at any level of hockey.
Wow, dude, I don't even know what to say to that. Oh my gosh, I've never heard of that either.
No, that's the ultimate.
Whoa.
Whoa. They're just that team's in disarray right now.
That would be putting it mildly. Oh my gosh, if the coach is sending you the whiteboard, well, then what is the coach there
What's
for?
the coach doing? It's not coaching.
Does that mean that the players are calling the lines then too?
I have no idea what's going on there, but it's been a disaster of a start, and I think this team needs coaching change is just the first step of many that need to be taken.
That would be gosh, it's like we know what we're talking about sometimes. No, I mean, listen, we were very, very skeptical of all of the moves that were made by Chicago this offseason. We felt that they overspent for lackluster talent. I mean, look, let's just put it the way it really is. Okay? That contract that they got Jones for, he is not worth that kind of money.
Not even remotely close. He's
not even remotely.
He's a middle pair defenseman at best.
And what are they paying middle pair defensemen right now? About $4 or $5 million a year.
I mean, David Savard got picked up by Montreal at what, 3.5 mil?
Like
I would have much rather Chicago had brought in David Savard at 3.5 mil than Seth Jones at 9.5.
Hey, baby. So I mean, those are the kinds of things. Bringing in Fleury. You know, look, there comes that time when I guess it's harder for people that I mean, I don't know it when a professional player has to come to that realization that, you know, I can't do this anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Fleury was propped up by Vegas's incredibly good defense quite a bit last year. I think, you know, like Fleury obviously played well and was a good goaltender last year, but he was very much propped up by Vegas being the best defensive team in the NHL.
Oh, easily.
And now he doesn't have the best defensive team in the NHL in front of him. In fact, he has almost the complete opposite, one of the worst defensive teams in the NHL in front of him. And now look at what Fleury looks like with that in front of him. All of a sudden, he's giving up 5 goals a game.
Do you know that's why he didn't stay in Pittsburgh, right? Because they found out that he really was pretty streaky.
You know, he got completely outplayed by Matt Murray.
And Murray completely outplayed him. And when you keep stepping out of your crease and letting stupid goals in because you can't stay in your own crease and, you know, track the puck that way, then, yeah, it makes it easy when people outplay you then. You know what I mean? And I can't remember who I was talking to about this with, but I had a hard time with him even winning the trophy last year because I didn't feel that he was statistically the best goaltender.
No, him winning the Vezina last year was sentimental. That was
right.
That was we want to get him a Vezina before he retires because this is probably his last shot.
Exactly. You know, I was talking to my buddy, 5-star matchup, and we were talking about him as he's a huge Pittsburgh fan. And I was just basically telling him, you know, look, it's unfortunate, but Fleury is really streaky and very dependent upon a good system and a good defense in front of him because he cannot carry the team. He can't. He's not good enough. And people are, a lot of people have a hard time seeing, Fleury, Fleury. And then you look at, all you have to do is look at how he played last year in Vegas. He was in Vezina caliber, he was up there with the, he won the Vezina. You know what I mean? So, well, then, but Chicago still hasn't won. Arizona still hasn't won. And, man, I'll tell you what, that's hard sledding. So.
Yeah, definitely. But on the other side of the spectrum, how about those Calgary Flames? This is a team that's playing quite a bit better than I know I was expecting heading into this year.
All of us. None of us were expecting them to Calgary. We were like, Calgary, yeah.
I was not expecting the Flames to look this good, but they have been outstanding. They started actually the season 0-1-1. They didn't come out of the gate great right away, but then all of a sudden they went on this East Coast road trip, and I don't know what it is about the East Coast that Calgary loves, but this team just went undefeated on the East Coast on this road trip. So they started out, they played their first game against Edmonton, lost 5-2, played their next game against Anaheim, lost 3-2 in overtime. All right, the first two games were at home, and it was like, oh boy, here's the same old same with the Calgary Flames. They're going to be another major disappointment. At Detroit, which I guess isn't East Coast, but still Eastern Conference.
So apparently them hopping on a plane and flying down to the lower 48.
At Detroit, 3-0 win, shutout win. At Washington, 4-3 win in overtime. At the New York Rangers, 5-1 win against a Rangers team that was playing very well going into that game. At New Jersey, 5-3 win. At Pittsburgh, 4-0 win. Now they go back home and they play tomorrow night against Philadelphia. That's going to be a heck of a game. They're 5-1-1 now after winning 5 straight on the road on this road trip. They started the road trip with a shutout. They ended the road trip with a shutout. And just like that, the Calgary Flames are one of the top teams in the Pacific Division and are 5-1-1 to start this year. I mean, who was expecting this from Calgary?
It's funny that you mentioned the Calgary Flames because I have a feeling we're going to be talking about these guys a little bit later on in the show too, and probably maybe a player from that team too. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Might show up on a list somewhere. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. But yeah, quite impressive with what Sutter is doing up there, and coach or Suter or however you want to say it.
Yeah, Daryl Sutter.
He has been doing really good things as far as apparently, I guess, as long as Calgary can hop on a plane and fly to East Coast, quote unquote, cities, I guess they're good. But going to be some interesting tests for them coming up. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how it goes for them. Going to be interesting to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I want to see them carry that success more than just one road trip. I want to see if they can sustain that level of play for an extended period of time.
We talked about this in our last show that we're going to kind of hold off on some judgment on some teams until we get into that, first 20 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not quite there yet.
Yep.
But we're getting there, though. We're slowly chipping away at that 20-game mark.
Yeah.
And I agree. We've got some teams that are separating themselves on both sides of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so that brings us to the end of top stories here. Now it's time to go into one of our favorite segments, which is, of course, Top Shelf, our weekly power rankings, where we rank the top 5 teams for each of us in the NHL right now. And obviously we've got, some games under our belt. It's not like we're basing this off only 2 or 3 games anymore. Everybody's played, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there for the most part.
Right. Yep.
We're almost to the 10-game mark. Nobody's played 10 yet, but we're getting close. So
yeah.
We'll just go through, starting at number 5, power rankings right now in the league. Who do you have at number 5, Steele?
Are you sitting down? No. I'm asking you, And all you folks at home, are you watching? Are you sitting down? Because I'm going to give it to you right now. Wait for it. Oh, my gosh. The Buffalo Sabres.
I can't believe that they're
Did you hear what I
5-1.
just said?
They're 5-1-1.
Whoa. Whoa.
Where did
wait a
this
minute.
come from?
Wait, I'm getting woozy. Hold on. I just put Buffalo in the top shelf power rankings at number 5. Oh my gosh, what? What? And not playing slouch teams, not losing to slouch teams neither. Okay, so good gravy. If Buffalo keeps playing like this,
That could certainly shake things up in the Eastern Conference.
slightly, do you think? Maybe. Oh my gosh, man. Completely, utterly not expecting Buffalo to just be remotely what they're doing.
No, not even close. But it's October. I mean, we've seen this before with Buffalo. Buffalo did this. I think it was 2018-19 when they had this
3 years ago.
They had this spectacular start to the season, and everybody was like, "What is happening?" And then, I mean, they ended up still being where Buffalo was expected to be. It's still early, but Buffalo is absolutely impressed so far. Anytime you start the season, 5-1-1 is a good start for any team. Never mind a team that was expected to be near the bottom of the league. Right. And for them to come out and start this well, I mean, they've really embraced that underdog mentality and that attitude of, we don't have a lot of talent, but we're going to outwork you. And that's what they've done. And they've also gotten good goaltending. I think that's been one of the biggest keys for Buffalo. When we looked at their goaltending heading into this year with Craig Anderson at 40 years old and Dustin Tokarski, who's been mostly an AHLer, we didn't think Buffalo was going to get any goaltending. I was expecting Buffalo to be very similar to what we actually have seen from Arizona.
Right.
And Buffalo has completely flipped that around.
Right.
And they've actually gotten good goaltending from Anderson and Tokarski. So that, I think, has been a big boost for them, that they've been able to keep the puck out of their net.
Yep. They've gotten timely goals. Their defense is actually playing like they know how to play defense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And now their last game was an overtime win against Anaheim, which, okay, Anaheim's not exactly the best yardstick on the block.
No.
But still, the fact that you took Anaheim and was able to beat Buffalo right now is playing well above where we expected them to be at this point in time,
100%.
Even remotely in the season. So if it's only going to be one time during the season, I'm putting Buffalo on the list. So there you go. That's my number 5 top shelf power ranking team for this week is Buffalo Sabres.
There we go. Buffalo on the list. I've got
I think I have to go wash my mouth out or something.
I have the Edmonton Oilers at 5. They lost their last game, but they're still 5-1-0 to start this year. +9 goal differential. They started the season 5-0, and then they got beat in their last one to finally break the streak. But still, Edmonton, to me, I mean, with the way McDavid's been playing, with the way, Draisaitl there, and, just their overall, especially their offensive ability. Puljujarvi's had a really good start to the season. This team is going to score a ton of goals. I mean, there's no question that the Edmonton Oilers are going to score a lot of goals this season. I think most of the questions with them come on the other side of things and the keeping the puck out of their net. They don't have Mike Smith right now. He's hurt already. So they're relying heavily on Mikko Koskinen, which is, that's very shaky to say the least.
Okay.
And their overall team defense, I think, is still to be determined as to how good it's going to be or not. But there's no doubt that they're going to score goals, and they've outscored opponents to start this year. And if Edmonton, I mean, listen, they're going to be a good regular season team. I don't think that's really the question with the Oilers. I think the question comes playoff times if they can actually win something in the postseason for once. But regular season wise, to me, Edmonton's still a top team, and they're going to be one of the definitely top 5 offensive teams in the league this year.
I'm with you, and they were tied almost. Buffalo, I think, had a bit of a better plus minus differential. I think they were plus 11, where Edmonton was plus 9 or something like that. But I that's why, look, I have no doubts that Edmonton's going to be on this list throughout the rest of the year, and unless Buffalo continues to keep trudging on the way they are, this will maybe. Who knows how they're going to stay on the list. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to give them some love, man. Okay. But that's why I ranked them higher, was because of their differential there. So, all right, my man. So that is John with Edmonton at number 5. Now, John, who do you have at the number 4 spot?
Calgary Flames. We just got finished talking about them, but what a streak they're on. What a incredible start to the season. 5-1-1, huge road trip, 5 straight wins, plus 10 goal differential, and some big wins against, tough opponents. They beat the Rangers handily. They beat the Penguins handily. They picked up some big wins there on this road trip. They beat the Capitals, and that to me is just a really, really impressive start for Calgary here. So I got them up at number 4 right now. They're, right there with their main rivals out there in Western Canada, the Oilers. And they're both been off to a great start. But Calgary I have a little bit higher because the road trip to me was so impressive. And the teams that they beat on that road trip, especially the Rangers, Capitals, and Penguins.
And Pittsburgh.
I mean, those were quality wins for the Flames.
Right. Exactly. And you know what? I'm like so kind of sort of with you on that, because I have Washington at number 4. And the only reason why I have Washington at number 4 is because they still haven't had a regulation loss.
Yep.
Okay. So they have as many points, but they don't have a regulation loss. Okay. They've got 3 overtimes. Okay. But for the most part, they haven't lost a game yet in regulation. So that's why I have them at number 4. Okay.
Yep.
Let's face it. Every time Ovechkin steps out onto the ice, it's a record. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I don't know how much longer Washington's going to stay on this list, because now with the announcement of the Oshie injury, that's going to hamper them considerably. You know what I mean? But they've been getting really good, decent goaltending. Ovechkin's been playing well, and so is the rest of the team. And now, unfortunately, with the injury here to TJ Oshie, I think you might see Washington, and depending on how long Oshie's out, I think they're calling him week to week or something like that.
Yeah.
So depending on how long he's out, I think that's going to determine on how many more trips to the win column that the Capitals have. But as of right at this moment, before any of the games that took place tonight or anything like that, I have Washington at number 4.
All right, there we go. Moving on now into the top 3. These are the best of the best. You got in at number 3.
I put in the aforementioned top 3rd story for you and number 4 for you, but I have the Calgary Flames at number 3 for exactly that very reason. The fact that they started off the season with a loss and a tie or an overtime, and then just hopped on a plane and came out east, and then had 2 shutouts, and then beat Pittsburgh, Washington, Rangers. I mean, that's not, you don't snuff at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so, and then I like what they're doing up there right now. They're playing really well. They're getting outstanding goaltending from Jacob Markstrom. Holy smokes!
Yeah, Markstrom's been incredible.
Dude is just built himself a little brick wall that he just takes with him every game.
Yep.
Right? You know what I mean? And so that's why I have Calgary at number 3.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah, buddy. All
Number
right.
3, I have the St. Louis Blues.
Ooh, yeah.
They were undefeated. They just lost their first game last night. But the St. Louis Blues are 5-1-0 to start this year, plus 13 goal differential. And they've come out firing. They've had a really solid start to the year. Now, I did expect the Blues to be better this season than we saw them last year. I thought they were going to be a better team. I like the off-season additions that they made, bringing in Buchnevich, bringing in Brandon Saad. Now, Brandon Saad is out right now.
Yeah, but Buchnevich has been a huge addition for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been really impressed with the Blues. Now, they did lose last night against Colorado, and Colorado finally played like Colorado's supposed to. But
oh man, I've been watching a lot
that
of
was
Colorado
a close
games
game. St. Louis almost came back at the end, but just
Yeah.
couldn't tie it up. But overall, I think the Blues have had a very, very good start to the season, and they certainly look like one of the best teams out west right now.
Who would have thunk? Yes, technical term, thunk. The Tarasenko would be lighting it up.
He's had an awesome, awesome start.
I mean, the guy who, had multiple shoulder surgeries, requested a trade, couldn't get the trade, and then be like, well, okay, I guess I better make the best of the situation I'm in, and, well, let's just play. What? The guy's lighting it up. You know what I mean? He's got multiple points, multiple nights, multiple games in a row. I mean, geez. Okay, cool. That I can't disagree with that at all. As far as that's concerned, I'm would have to, I'm with you. I have Calgary at 3. You have St. Louis at 3. All right. We might as well just say it right now, man.
Yeah, the top 2 I think are pretty obvious considering there's 2 undefeated teams left in the NHL.
Which one do you have first?
I have in first Florida, yes, because they've got a higher goal differential at plus 18, and they've played one more game, so they are 7-0-0. And I got Florida in at number 1, and then obviously that leaves Carolina at number 2, who are 6-0-0 and a plus 17 goal differential. But both of them have just been absolutely outstanding to start this year.
I'm gonna be interested to see what happens with Florida after this whole, because I'm sure that Florida had no inclination. I am sure that Florida had no idea that any of this was going on. I mean, Quenneville was out of coaching for 2 years after he left Chicago. He was out of coaching for a year or 2.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'm pretty sure that's what the case was, that he was out. He like went away for 2 years.
Yeah, but when he was hired by Florida, there was like none of that talk had even started yet about anything that's happened now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so they had no idea that this was coming.
So now suddenly your team is kicking butkus, right? You're a top team in the league. You haven't lost a single game yet, and now your coach has to step away because of stuff he did back in 2010. Ouch. So I'm going to be real interested to see how Florida handles this, because, of course, the rumors are going around now. There's potentially some coaches available to be coaching the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to see Andrew Brunette at least get some time, a few weeks, to see what he can do. I mean, he's never been an NHL head coach before, but I feel like, this was a guy that you obviously trusted enough to make the interim head coach. Like, I'd like to see him at least get some time to, if the team doesn't drop off at all,
couple weeks,
why make a change? If the team doesn't change, like, if they keep winning the way that they are right now and playing as well as they are right now, why change something there?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So I'd like to see Andrew Brunette maybe get a shot.
That's kind of what I was alluding to, because I've been seeing so many different rumors and different things going around of potential candidates.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I would like to see Burnett get a chance and see what he can do and see how he can, at least a couple weeks, at least maybe to like Christmas time or something. Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's give the guy 10 games and see how he does. You know what I mean?
Definitely want to see what he can do behind that bench there. But Florida's going to be interesting to see how they react to it, because obviously the players on the Panthers, most of them weren't even in the league back then. I mean, that was 11 years ago, so most of them weren't even in the NHL. Like, this has nothing to do with this current Panthers team. It's all stuff that happened way back then, but all of a sudden your coach is just gone. Yeah. And now there's definitely going to be an adjustment to be made there for sure.
Exactly. And I'm going to be interested to see how that's going to affect this team.
Mm-hmm.
And if they still just continue to win, that I think is going to make this even more impressive.
Yeah. Well, that will just show you how good of a team and roster they have. If they just shake this off and just keep on going business as usual, that will just show you how good the Florida Panthers are.
Agreed. And I'm also going to say this too. I am very shocked at, frankly, how well Carolina has come out of the gates and just said, yeah, we're going to just trade away our 2 starting goaltenders and our best defenseman, and it's not going to matter because it ain't, and it doesn't, and it doesn't, so.
Teams had a lot of turnover with the roster, and a lot of times those teams would take a little bit longer to gel, but hasn't been the case at all with Carolina. They have come right out of the gate looking maybe even a little bit better than they did last year. And I mean, they were one of the top teams last year, 2 points
better
away.
By subtraction.
2 points away last year from the President's Trophy, and now they look potentially even better this year. Carolina's been super impressive as well.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that their goaltending, because that's what we thought was going to be the issue there with
Freddie Anderson's been lights out.
I know, and with Nedeljkovic leaving and everything like that.
Anderson has been absolutely lights out.
Man, that has been, and even their backup has been playing really well down there too in Carolina. So I mean, and it doesn't seem like they've missed a beat at all, does it?
No, they're picking up right where they left off and look like they're certainly going to be a top team for the entirety of this season, without a doubt.
Have no questions about that. And as long as Rod Brindamore's back there behind the bench, like, I'm always going to give Carolina a shot to win every night. Just because Roddy's back there coaching, what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so that. But, man, there you go. Florida, Carolina, Calgary, Washington, Buffalo for me.
Yep.
And then you have Florida, Carolina, St. Louis, Calgary, and Edmonton. Wow, yes. There you go, man.
All right, it's time to move on now to looking back on the best game of last week, and there were some very good games this past week. So, Steele,
I had a hard time choosing.
Steele, what do you got as your best game from this past week?
I couldn't do it to you 2 weeks in a row. Okay, I couldn't. I really, really wanted to though, but I couldn't. So I picked the Colorado Tampa Bay Lightning game.
Yep.
That was played on the 23rd.
So last Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, last Saturday.
Yep.
Like I told you or said earlier, I've been trying to watch Colorado and Seattle games.
Yep.
Because I don't usually get a chance to watch the West Coast games, living here East Coast.
Yep.
So when I, turn on my ESPN Plus, I'm not watching my East Coast teams. I'm watching the West Coast teams.
Yeah.
Go figure, right?
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of Colorado, and man, this game just, this was like 2 heavyweight boxers just duking it out. Like, that's how this game felt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were all-star plays on both sides of the ice for each team in every situation. Okay? where a mistake was made on one team and one team would completely and utterly capitalize.
Mm-hmm.
Where one team would have an immaculate power play, and then another team would have an awesome breakaway chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm like? This game just there's so much skill and talent on the ice for this game.
Yep.
I mean, I think when they went into the overtime, which go figure, this game went into overtime, Colorado and Tampa Bay, really?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I believe they would. Now, let's also keep in mind, too, that Tampa Bay is missing Kucherov.
Yep.
Right? So they had Point, Stamkos, and I believe Chernak was out there for their 3-on-3. And then for Colorado, it was McCaw, McKinnon, and Landeskog. I mean, those 6 players right there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on.
The talent there is unbelievable.
Okay, so needless to say, it went to a shootout. Right? that was the last pairing of overtime. The last pairing of 3-on-3 was, and that was also the first pairing.
Yes. Yep.
Right, of those those set of 3 players for each team. You know what I mean? So just to see that is like, wow, all-star game, cool.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, what? How could you go wrong? That's why I picked that game. Colorado tied it late, or Tampa Bay tied it late, and then Colorado takes it in the shootout.
Yep.
So that's why I picked that game. To me, that was the good coming out of the Shield.
Yep.
In that game. Okay, that was the good of the Shield coming out in that game. So what was your pick, John? What was your game of last week?
Also from last Saturday, the New York Rangers against the Ottawa Senators. This was not a game that I went into thinking game of the week material, but it actually ended up being a really, really fun game. It was an afternoon matchup up in Ottawa. Rangers came all the way back from down 2-0, and they ended up winning it 3-2 with a huge third period comeback. There were 2 fights in the game. It was very physical. It was a really fun game to watch. A lot of chippiness between the teams that really brought the excitement level up. And then this monster comeback from the Rangers was just really, really fun. Ended up Matt Murray, the Ottawa goaltender, ended up getting hurt on the first goal against, and then all of a sudden Forsberg comes in and couldn't close the door, and just like that, it went from 2-0 Senators to 3-2 Rangers, and New York at that time was on a winning streak, and they extended the winning streak with this comeback. I think this was the 4th win in a row for them at that point, and for them to come back from being down like that was a really exciting end to the game, and just overall the game was a lot of fun to watch. So I liked that one a lot, and that was a lot better game than I thought it was going to be going into it.
Yeah, who would have thought Rangers and Ottawa that you would zero in on that game and that would be game of the week?
Yeah.
No, really, no. It's not expecting that one at all. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But checking that game out too, though, man, that was definitely very physical, hard. Here's the really wild thing, and this is what was interesting about the Colorado Tampa Bay game. Mm-hmm. This was the first time that Colorado has played in Tampa Bay in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right, and this is the first time that the Rangers have played Ottawa in 2 years, 18 months, whatever.
2019, yeah.
Right. So we're getting some matchups now that we haven't had in a while. Right? So
pre-COVID, yeah.
Exactly. And we're getting back to that, familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't wait for that to settle in like it did last year. Oh man, that was when you started getting into that part of the season where teams had already been faced each other 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those last couple of games, ooh, they were pretty brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those games where there was a lot of like physicality and a lot of, unhappiness.
Oh, absolutely.
a
Absolutely.
lot of in and out of the penalty box. So, man, good games, man. Really good games.
Yeah, for sure. So that brings us now to 3 stars of the week. We start to get to look at some individual players here. And some players that had a massive, massive week this past week. And heavy on the goalies, it looks like. And some of the goaltending has been absolutely phenomenal. So, Steele, if you want to go 3, 2, 1 through your 3 stars,
okay,
have at it.
All right, you got it. Earning the 3rd star of the week for me was a member of the previously mentioned top 3 team, the Calgary Flames, their goaltender, Jacob Markstrom. And now this is, we only go from Saturday to Thursday, so we only, we only cover a certain amount of time. But in that time, he's had 2 games played. He is 2-0-0. He's got 1 shutout.
Yep.
He's got a .986 save percentage.
Yep.
He's in 2 games. He stopped 73 of 74 shots.
Yep.
In 2 games. Now, folks, that's an average of about 36.5 points or 36.5 shots a game-ish, good give or take. And when you stop all but 1 of those, yeah, that's going to earn you a star. You get the shutout. You get a .50 goals against for those 2 games. Hey, how you doing, Jacob Markstrom? And the team is playing amazing, and he has been playing lights out. So that is my number 3 star, Jacob Markstrom. Number 2 star for me is, well, since we're still talking about goalies, just keep talking about goalies. How about the goalie from the Islanders, Ilya Sarokin? Man, this cat has just been standing on his freaking head. 2 games played. He's got 2-0-0. He has not let in a single goal.
Yep.
68 shots faced, 68 shots stopped, 2 shutouts. He's got a perfect goals against average and a perfect save percentage in these two games here. So that puts me at the number 2 star as far as goalies. Because, man, you just can't ignore that.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't ignore that. When you stop that many shots and have 2 shutouts just like that, back-to-back, bang. All right, I'm with you. Cool. You get the star. Number 1 star of the week for me is a fella from Nashville. Getting off the goalie train here.
Yep.
Gotta say it, man. Roman Yossi. 3 games played, 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points. He's a +4. He's got 3 power play goals. 3 power play points.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is just getting it done for Nashville. Nashville hasn't necessarily, been burning up the win-loss or burning up the win column, but he sure has been burning up the stat column.
Yep.
And in the last 3 games, he is my number 1 star, Roman Yossi.
Awesome.
So there you have it. Roman Yossi, number 1 star. Number 2 star, Ilya Sarokin. Number 3 star, Jacob Markstrom. All right, John, your 3 stars.
Number 3, Freddie Anderson, goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes. He started 3 games this past week. He's 3-0-0. He has a .977 save percentage, a 0.67 goals against average, 1 shutout, and, he stopped 84 out of 86 shots against over the course of those 3 games. So, just an outstanding week for Anderson, picking up 3 big wins, leading Carolina to their undefeated record. And Freddie Anderson, who knew? All he had to do was get out of Toronto, and now look at him.
Boy, I bet you Toronto fans are not happy about that.
Now look at Freddie down in Carolina. I also think that this this certainly backs up my argument about Carolina's overall team defense making life very easy on their goaltenders, because we generally have seen goaltenders that go to Carolina see a big boost in their numbers, and goaltenders that leave Carolina generally don't have as good of numbers after they leave. So I think, obviously a lot of it has been Anderson's play, and I've watched a number of Carolina games already this season.
Yeah, I have too.
He's made some outstanding saves.
He's
but
looked
that
really
team
good.
defense in front of him is certainly helping.
Exactly.
And he had an outstanding week. I mean, anytime you're giving up less than 1 goal a game, that is phenomenal. So Freddie Anderson was my number 3.
I had a hard time picking.
Yeah.
Between him and Markstrom, but I don't know. I think Calgary's more the story. So, and I think he had a higher save percentage, which is why I picked Markstrom. So, all right.
There's a lot of goalies playing good right now.
I'm telling you, we got a lot of them on our list.
Yes. My number 2 star is Roman Yossi from the Nashville Predators. Incredible week, especially for a defenseman. 7 points in 3 games. I mean, that's great for a forward, never mind a defenseman.
Right.
2 goals, 5 assists, +4 rating, 3 points on the power play, and he's playing almost 25 minutes a game. Obviously, Roman Yossi is a former Norris Trophy winner. He is easily Nashville's best defenseman. And, he played like it this past week, and Nashville's picked up some big wins here recently. They've done a good job of, kind of trying to claw back towards 500 with their record, and Yossi is a big reason why he had a heck of a week down in Nashville.
For sure.
And that leaves my number 1 star, Ilya Sarokin, another goaltender here, but he had 2 shutouts in 2 games. I don't think it can get any better than that for a goalie. I mean, that's literally perfect. Ilya Sarokin had a perfect week. He played 2 games. He went 2-0 with a 100% save percentage, a 0 goals against, 2 shutouts, and he stopped 68 out of 68 shots against. Literally a perfect week for the goaltender. So, with that, I think, 2 shutouts in 2 games. I'm giving Sarokin the number 1 star this week. So
okay, I got you. Yeah,
I got Freddie Anderson at 3, Roman Yossi at 2, and Sarokin at number 1.
I really like your list here, John. It looks distinctly similar to mine. We both have 2 goalies on here. I can't disagree with Sarokin with playing as well as he's been able to play. And let's face it, when you stop all 68 shots, I mean, it's like you just kind of have that picture of him sitting there on one of those little lounge chairs, and every time a puck comes by, he just throws his glove hand up and catches it as he's sipping on a beverage.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's really not doing that. But I'm with you on that, man. I like that. Those are some. Last year there were certain weeks where it was very goalie heavy. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see that again this year, too.
Yeah.
Where we're going to see a lot more goalies on the 3 stars of the week. I just really do. And especially the way me and you pick them.
Yeah, and when goalies get hot, they can get really hot. So you can see them rip off 3-4 really good games in a row.
And that makes them a star of the week.
Definitely. All right, so those were our 3 stars, and now it's time to go to hottest and coldest teams. This is always a fun segment because our lists are usually pretty similar when it comes to this because a lot of times there's pretty clear hot and cold teams. And looking at our lists here, they're similar. They're exactly the same.
All the way.
We'll just go through our list of 3, 2, 1. We'll do hottest first because we like to do positive things first, and then
and John, you could go first on that one.
We'll do coldest after. But hottest team, starting at number 3, the Calgary Flames. I mean, they've won 5 in a row. They're 5-1-1 on the year. They just had a massive road trip. I don't want to, not spend a ton more time on it because we've talked about Calgary a bunch already. Yep. It's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, a 5-game road trip where you won all 5 games, that makes you pretty hot. So the Flames are very, very hot right now, and I got them in at number 3.
Wait, the Flames are a
Are
hot
hot,
team.
yes.
Wait, the Flames are a hot team. All right. All right, who do you have for number 2?
Number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes, one of the remaining undefeateds, 6-0-0, won 6 in a row. And again, when you haven't lost, I think you're a pretty hot team. So that kind of speaks for itself when there's a big fat 0 in your loss column.
Yeah, that bodes well usually.
Yep.
Number 1.
Well, the other undefeated team who's played one more game, and that's the Florida Panthers. 7-0-0 to start the year. They've won, obviously, 7 in a row. They've won all 7. And, well, Florida is, been pretty dominant to start this season. So, very, very impressed with them so far. And I got them at number 1.
Well, man, I'll tell you what you said. My list is exactly the same. I got Carolina at number 3. Jacob Markstrom, I think, is one of the main reasons that they're playing well. Also, their offense is starting to click down there too.
Yeah.
In
Flames
Calgary.
are scoring some goals.
Yeah. Okay, so they're not just beating Pittsburgh and Washington in their buildings, but they're doing it with 4 or 5 goals a game.
Yeah,
right.
Their offense has been clicking.
Exactly. So, and they're getting really good goaltending, obviously, and so their offense is clicking as well. That's why I have them as one of the hottest teams as well. Carolina, I mean, come on, they haven't lost a freaking game yet. Come on, they haven't lost. We've talked that story to where that needs to go.
Yep.
And Florida, hey, 7-0-0. Gosh, the only concern I have is now with how this whole coaching thing is going to go.
Yep.
Because Bob has been playing bloody lights out.
Yep.
They got their full complement of team back with Eklund back on the back end. Their offense is picked up. They're scoring goals. They're getting great goaltending. I'm just going to be interested to see how the coaching situation happens down there. But for me, they are the number 1 hot team going right now in the NHL, 7-0-0.
Yes. Okay, so we will now flip things over to the other side. The coldest teams, and Steele, you can take this away here.
Sure, I get the cold teams first.
Well, you gave me the hot one, so you get the cold.
Man, it's all good, brother. That's because steel is cold.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So here we go. Surprisingly, on this list, LA Kings. I was not expecting them to be as this bad.
Yeah. What a brutal start for them. Like total letdown.
Yeah. Like I said, surprisingly on this list.
Yeah.
They've won 1 game.
Yeah.
Surprisingly on this list.
Yeah.
I really felt they were going to be taking the next step.
I thought so too.
Especially after, the Kopitar and the week that he had, the opening week. And then, but now Doughty is out for
8 weeks for Doughty, I think they said.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's a hurt piece.
Walker's out for the whole year now, torn ACL.
Yep. That's another hurt piece, So I got LA Kings there at number 3. Number 2 is no surprise at all. Chicago, they haven't won a single game yet.
Yep.
And what? They just haven't won a game.
Yep.
It's like, are they trying? I mean, and I'm going to lump Arizona in with this because they haven't won a game yet either, and they're my number 1 coldest team.
Yep.
But are you guys not trying?
See, the thing with Arizona is that I'm not surprised because their roster is just so bad. Like Arizona's fielding a team with players on it that should not be in the NHL.
I agree. They're pretty much mostly all AHL guys.
This is a throw together team for the Coyotes that is pretty openly tanking for the first overall pick.
Well, see, man, I have a hard time with that. I'm sorry. I just do. Okay? Look, if you go out there and give it 110% every night and you just aren't able to do it, then you can look yourself in the mirror and sleep at night.
Well,
And
I don't think the
no,
players are
no,
tanking, but
but you know what I
I
mean.
think the management put together the worst team on paper they possibly could.
Like, what was that movie? Major League.
Yeah.
Right, where they put like the worst group of guys, the most ragtag guys, and hey, they made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think the players are going out there and saying, we're going to
We're
lose tonight.
contenders. Yeah,
But I
right.
think that they just don't have a roster that can compete in the NHL.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, but Chicago's
a huge surprise. Like, they should not be this bad.
That's what I mean. They have no excuse.
They have absolutely no excuse to be this bad.
The amount of money that you spent on the talent
Yeah.
that you brought into this team, hey, hasn't won you a game yet. So there you go, man. That's the Steel's coldest teams: Arizona, Chicago, and LA. Arizona being number 1, Chicago being number 2, LA being number 3. John, who do you got?
Exact same list. LA, massive disappointment. This team should be so much better than this. 1-5-1, lost 3 straight in regulation. Just really embarrassing start for the LA Kings. Number 2, Chicago. I mean, there's no excuse for what's going on in Chicago and how awful they've been, but they still don't have a win. And they can't keep the puck out of their net to save their lives. They give up like 5 goals a game. It's absolutely ridiculous, but certainly one of the worst teams out of the gate. And Arizona, clearly number 1. And like I just said, I mean, their roster is abysmal. They're not an NHL caliber team. They'll be lucky, I think, if they win. I think they probably maybe get around 17-ish wins if they're even lucky this year.
Wow.
I don't think they're winning 20 games, which means they're losing more than 60 games this year.
Wow.
So this is an all-time bad NHL team, at least especially for salary cap era. If you go back to, the old days, there were probably some worse ones, especially when new expansion teams came in. But I don't think they're going to be like the 8-win Washington Capitals. But as far as like salary cap era NHL, this might be the worst team that we've seen. They're abysmal, and I am not at all surprised that they haven't won yet.
And it looks like the trend is continuing.
Yes.
So, oh my gosh, man. Look, let's get away from this chilly side of things.
Yes.
And get into something a little bit more fun.
Yes. I'm always down for this, even though I'm not that great at it, but I'm always down for this.
Okay, so I don't know what part of you're not real great at it that you don't seem to understand.
It's gone
because
fairly well
if
this
you
year.
Look at these numbers, mister, and I know you are.
Oh, I can see the numbers.
All right. You can see that you're doing better than I am, always.
Well, by a couple games. It's not a big margin.
Oh, come on. Last year you crushed me, dude. I wasn't even in the same room. So, all right, look, there's not a big of a slate of games for this Saturday as what we're normally used to. We're used to like 11, 12, 13 games, something like that, right?
Yeah, how many are there? 10? 10, right?
10, right?
Yeah,
so we get
so it's not like the 14-game slate where almost the entire league is playing. Like, okay,
right?
So there's only 10 games Saturday.
Right.
That's a light Saturday in the NHL.
It is. And tonight is actually it's like they kind of split it up.
Yeah, tonight's a more heavy Friday than what we've been seeing.
Normally, right.
Yeah.
There's a couple more games tonight played
Yep.
than there normally is on Fridays, right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that, okay? And so let's go with John. Last week was 9-4, okay?
Yep.
So your total so far for the year is 18-9, okay?
I'll take that.
Right. Well, now we're only picking Saturday games. So,
yes.
Right. This doesn't count for any of the other. It's only Saturday games.
Only Saturday's games. Yep.
Right. So last week I was not quite as good, but I was still in the winning column. I was 7-6.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm on the year so far 16-11.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a 10-game slate of games for this coming week. And game number 1 for Saturday's matchup is the New York Islanders at the Nashville Predators. And who do you like, John?
Oh, this is actually a pretty tough one. Islanders have kind of gotten back to looking like the Islanders. Nashville's played better of recent. It's in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly has low scoring game written all over it.
Sure does.
With the generally two very low scoring teams.
And a really good goalie in New York Islanders.
And a really good goalie in Nashville as well. Saros has had a strong start to the year.
Yep.
This is a tough one, but I'm going to slightly lean towards the Isles.
Slightly lean towards the Isles?
Yes.
All right. I can. That's actually who I was kind of leaning towards anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think even though it's in Nashville, I just like Sarokin better between the pipes. And I just feel that the Islanders might just be hitting a little rough patch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where they had a little bump in the road. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm down with the Islanders in this one.
Okay, so we both got the Isles.
All right. Next game is Montreal at LA Kings.
Oh, two teams off to dismal starts.
We didn't even mention Montreal.
Well, they won last night, so that's a win for them. They won last night.
They didn't get on any of our lists, so all right.
I don't know. Both of these teams are off to really bad starts. I mean, LA I think has been like more dreadful. Montreal picked up a decent win last night. I think that they can maybe build some momentum on this road trip. So I'm going to go with Montreal in this one. LA's just completely disappointed me to no end.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was surprised about them as well too. So you're taking Montreal?
Yeah.
I can't even go against that either. I just can't. Not when I put LA Kings as one of my worst coldest teams. Yeah, I just can't go down that road. All right. Winnipeg at San Jose, and all I have to say is this: wow, San Jose.
Well, they've lost their last couple now. See, this is
they
two
won
teams.
4, lost 3.
This is two teams trending in different directions. Winnipeg got off to a really bad start, but has played very well since then. And San Jose got off to a 4-0. They were 4-0. They got off to a 4-0 start, and then they've lost their last 3 actually.
3 in a row. Yep.
So going with the trends of Winnipeg going up and San Jose going down, I'm going to go with the Winnipeg Jets.
Duh.
Well, that just means San Jose is going to break their losing streak, but
right. And
but I'm taking Winnipeg here.
I am too.
They're playing better right now.
I agree. And I can't ever pick San Jose because every time I do, bad things happen. So I'm not going to do it. All right, my man. This game here, Florida at Boston.
Florida.
Whoa, that was quick.
Florida. They're the best team in the league right now. And honestly, I talked about Boston on my Boston show today. Like, such a roller coaster start for the Bruins. Not playing very well right now. Florida handled them pretty well on Wednesday night and won 4-1. Until Boston gives me a reason to think otherwise, I don't see them beating the best team in the league.
I get you, but Florida's going to be on a back-to-back.
Yeah, no, I don't like picking teams on the second half of a back-to-back, but that's how down on Boston I am right now.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, they didn't look all that great. Swayman hasn't looked all that great.
Well, their offense has disappeared for the last 2 games. They've got 1 goal over the past 2 games.
Right, and the last game that I watched, McAvoy was not very effective. So, oh man, I got to go with Florida on this, man. Yeah. The best team in the league. You can't.
I'm not going to pick against Florida until they lose. Like, I'm not going to pick
Right.
them to lose and have them, win 10 in a row. Like,
All right.
Florida's got to give you a reason to pick against them, I would think, at this point.
And they're going to have to give me a reason to knock them off the top of my list too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Until
Right?
that happens, like
Even if they lose the next 2 games and are still 7-2, they're still going to be one of the better teams in the league. So
Yep.
what?
Yep.
All right, Detroit at Toronto.
This is a tough one because Detroit has actually played well this year. And Toronto, well, their fans are already losing their cool up in Toronto because they've had a slow start. I feel like this is going to be one of those games that the Leafs win, that everyone knows the Leafs need to win, and they're actually going to go out and win it. It's going to be close. I would not be surprised if this game goes to overtime, but I'm going to say that the Leafs win this one. I'm taking Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I'm taking Toronto on this. Detroit played tonight.
Oh, that's right. They played tonight against Florida.
And
wow,
lost.
That's a tough back-to-back for the Red Wings.
Right. So, going with Toronto on that one.
I got Toronto for sure.
Yeah. Okay. New Jersey at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah?
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Gonna have to agree with you on that.
I think New Jersey's got too many guys out, and Pittsburgh's getting Jeff Carter back. So
I was just gonna say that Hughes injury with New Jersey is gonna be a hurt piece for them.
That's hurt the Devils for sure.
Big time, yeah. So, all right, man. Chicago versus St. Louis. This is easy.
I mean, St. Louis. I mean, again, like the same way as the Panthers, but the opposite. Until Chicago gives me a reason to pick them and wins a game.
They're going to be on the list.
Pretty obvious St. Louis pick there, yeah.
They're going to be on the bad list.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Minnesota at Colorado.
What a game this is going to be.
Oh, this game here gets me all goose pimply.
Oh, what a game this is going to be. I think Colorado's win last night, Thursday night, over St. Louis, I think might be that springboard that Colorado needed to get back to being the Colorado Avalanche that we were expecting. Now, they do have guys out of the lineup. Rantanen's out. They were able to beat St. Louis even without Rantanen, but Rantanen's out. Girard is out. Taves has been out the whole year. There are some worrisome things here, but I'm thinking that Colorado might be able to carry that momentum and pick up a big win. And I'm going to take the Avs. This is a toss-up game, though, but I'm going to take the Avs.
Like I said, I've been watching a lot of Colorado games this year.
Yep.
And I agree. That game that they played, I think, was the turnaround for them. Even though they might be missing a couple pieces, I think they can still take care of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Colorado on this one as well, too. Edmonton at Vancouver.
I just don't trust the Canucks. Like every time Vancouver starts to show signs and starts to play well, they'll just lose a game or they'll lose a couple games, and you're just like, well, so much for that. I feel like I say so much for that with Vancouver so much. I'm going to take Edmonton just because I have zero trust in the Vancouver Canucks.
All right. I'm going to take Vancouver.
Nice. Is that the first one we've differed on?
Yes.
All right. So we had to get at least one in there. Yes.
So this is the one. It's going to be the only one probably because I have a feeling I know what's going to happen on this game. But, yeah, I'm with you on the Vancouver, but I don't know, man. Edmonton, I think that game against Philly shook them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they kind of went into that game. I mean, even the commentators were pretty much expecting Edmonton to just mop up Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And that just wasn't the case. Like, they were shocked that Philly scored goals and was actually playing well. And they actually had to say good things about. All right, I'm done. Philadelphia versus Calgary in Calgary.
Two hot teams playing really well right now. This is a tough one. I think this is a toss-up game, but I don't know. I think the big question is, does Calgary's momentum from the road carry over into Calgary? Philadelphia has already proven that they can win on the road. I mean, what they beat the Oilers, they beat the Canucks. Like they've shown that they can win on the road. Calgary, they haven't won at home yet. They're very hot right now. I'm gonna go Philly in this one. I'm gonna take the Flyers.
Oh gosh. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. I gotta go Homer on this. I really think that Philadelphia, I mean, you look at what Cam Atkinson's doing, you look at what Claude Giroux has been able to do, you look at what that team has been able to put together, even though they've been missing Ryan Ellis. Like Ryan Ellis, who it doesn't seem to matter. They just seem to be able to go to Vancouver and win, and go to whatever team and win. You know what I mean? So I got to go with Philly on this, and as soon as I do that, you know what happens.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow night.
I don't wanna.
We'll find out tomorrow night.
Yeah, I don't wanna, but I have to. I gotta go with Philly on this one. Philly's on a wave, man, right now, and I think it's going to be too much for Calgary.
Yep. Okay.
So there we go. All right, there you have it, man. There's our picks. So that was not too painful.
No, not bad.
Okay. So now that we've got our picks in, let's zero in on a game of the week that we both feel is a game that you should probably be fetching down your popcorn and your slippers and your favorite dog or significant other, and be cozied up to on the couch with the remote ready to go and watch these games, whether you're a fan of these teams or not. As long as you're a hockey fan, these are going to be some exciting games. So, John, your game of the week is
the Washington Capitals against the Florida Panthers on Thursday night, which is the 4th of November. Hard to believe it's November already, but
oh my gosh.
Washington and Florida. Talk about a matchup. And Florida, they won tonight in overtime. They squeaked it out, so they might still be potentially undefeated when they face this game, go into this game when they face Washington. Depends on how Florida does tomorrow night against Boston. But Washington also won tonight.
Yep.
Not as by a wide of a margin as I was expecting, but they did win tonight.
Yeah, they did win against Anaheim.
Or Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah, they beat Arizona tonight. So Washington still does not have a regulation loss.
Right.
They're 5-0-3 to start this year.
Well, there you go.
Florida's 8-0-0 now. Talk about a matchup. They're not in the same division, but it doesn't matter. They're in the same conference, and this is two top teams going at it. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this could potentially be like a preview of the potential playoffs down the road.
It could potentially be a playoff matchup, deeper into the postseason this coming playoffs. Absolutely, potentially, for sure.
I'm with you on that, man. That's a good game, dude. That's a really, there was so many different games to choose from. It was hard to pick, zero in on one game. And that's why I was like, I'm glad I don't have to pick just one, because I know you're going to cover the other one.
Yep.
So whichever one I don't pick, you'll pick.
Yes.
And that's the one you picked, right? So I went the other way, and it was the game that we just talked about in our Saturday night matchups, and that's going to be the game this coming Saturday with the Philadelphia Flyers versus the Calgary Flames. Two very hot teams coming in at a time when both teams have been playing really well.
Yep.
Right? Philly's been playing well on the road. Calgary hasn't played quite as well at home, but they've played well on the road and have won multiple games in a row.
Yep.
So to me, I think this is they seemingly are evenly matched.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's good goaltending. There's good offense. There's decent defense. There's, the special teams are there. You know what I'm saying? Each team has a player that's on a couple of game point streak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this just has that feel game. You know what I mean? That's just one of these games where you really need to bring your popcorn and you really need to just be strapped into this one because this one's going to be a good game.
Yeah, definitely. Two very hot teams right now. Streaking into this game in a positive way, both of them. So it's going to be a really good matchup to see whose streak continues and whose doesn't. And obviously, we haven't really, the Flames, their 5-game winning streak all came on the road. So we don't know what it's going to look like when they get back to Calgary. Whereas Philadelphia, they've already won some big road games on this road trip. So
yeah, and they've won some home games too. So,
yeah,
I mean,
earlier in the year they were won some big home games, and now they've gone on this trip and they've beaten Edmonton and they've beaten Vancouver, and they've been impressive to start. So this is absolutely a huge matchup tomorrow night.
Exactly. So there you go, man. Oh, boy, two really awesome games.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I don't usually plug things. I'm not that person when it comes to certain things, but I'm really glad that I picked up that little package that you can get to watch all the extra NHL games.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm really glad that I actually kind of splurged for that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But because it's given me the opportunity to watch a lot of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
That I haven't had the opportunity in the past to do.
Yep.
And I'm also going to say this too about the games that we've watched so far on both ESPN and both TNT. Both networks have made a concerted effort to put out support shows and to put out a good intermission show and a good pre and post game show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I have to say that I'm going to agree with John. And I like what TNT has done as far as their intermission and their pre and post game shows.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The guys up there are at least engaging. The guys up there are knowledgeable. I mean, let's face it, you got the great one up there. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's not up there every single night, but for the most part, it's Gretzky up there. So how could you go wrong with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talkett's been a fount of knowledge and great commentary. Okay, and I can't believe I'm saying that about him because I'm not a fan of his. I watched him in Philly for 2 years do the sports desk and do the pre and post game shows and do the intermissions and all that stuff for the Flyers games, and I just didn't really like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm still not really, because he just kind of comes across as really brash.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's not a knock against him because I'm exactly the same way. Okay, I come across as very brash. I don't hold things back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any tact.
Yeah.
I don't sugarcoat it for you. I just kind of just dump it right out there for you, Sorry. Yep. So, but yeah, really good games, really good teams. I'm looking forward to these games this week.
Absolutely. So that brings us now to our final segment, and this is always a really fun one where we get to look at the future of the game. It's Prospect Watch, where we each pick out an NHL prospect and talk about them, what they're doing this season, whether if they're in the NHL, what they're doing with their current team, if they're not yet in the NHL, what they're doing in college or junior Europe, wherever they're playing. And it looks like we got a couple of really good young players here on the Prospect Watch this week. So, Steele, if you want to do yours first, take it away.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. This player was selected in the first round, number 12th overall by the Florida Panthers in last year's NHL entry draft. He's a 6 foot, 185 pound, 20-year-old Anton Lindell from Finland.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, he's already playing in the NHL. He's already played for the Florida Panthers. In 5 games played, he has 2 goals, 3 assists, and 5 points. And he's a +4 player as a left-handed center.
Yep.
The fact that he was drafted last year and is already making an impact for the Florida Panthers right now.
Yep.
Okay, that to me is impressive. Okay, that he is 20 years old and able to come in and play and be an impact player so far. He played in the Finnish league and did really well as far as that's concerned. And in the year before he came to Florida, the year, his draft year.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
drafted in 2020, and then he
Yeah.
played a year in Finland, and then has
Now
now
he's
made
with.
the
Yep.
made the jump to the NHL.
Yeah, he played 26 games last year in Finland and did really well. I think he had like a total of 24 points, like 13 goals and 12 assists, something stupid like that or whatever, but did really well. But he's come into the NHL now and has made an impact for the Florida Panthers. So that's Anton Lindell is the player of my prospect watch. John, who do you have?
Yeah, my prospect watch is Brett Barrard, a young left winger, 19 years old. On the smaller side, 5'9", 154 pounds, but he has some goal-scoring ability, to say the least. He was drafted in the 5th round, 134th overall in 2020, so a couple drafts ago, by the New York Rangers. And he currently plays at Providence College, which a lot of you know. I am a big Providence College hockey fan. I go to a lot of their games.
Well, go figure. You would
my
pick a guy. Sorry.
my sister actually goes to Providence College.
Oh, well,
and
there you go.
they've had some really, really good hockey teams over the past 6-7 years. And
Awesome.
Brett Barrard is another NHL prospect to go through the PC ranks. He's a sophomore this year. He's played 7 games so far. He has 6 goals in those 7 games, 4 assists on top of it for 10 points and a +2 rating. He has already matched his point total from his freshman year last year. So last season, he had 10 points in 19 games as a freshman. This year, as a sophomore, he already has 10 points, and it's only been 7 games. So he's playing a lot bigger minutes, a lot higher in the lineup this year as a sophomore than he did as a freshman, and fully taking advantage of it. He's shown a big jump in progression from last year to this year. And Brett Barrard is definitely a kid that the New York Rangers are going to be paying close attention to, because a team like them have a lot of young talent. And, a lot of prospects up and coming, and a lot of really good players at the NHL level already who are very young.
Oh, yeah.
But you can add Brett Barrard to the list of a kid that looks like he someday is going to be making a significant NHL impact.
I'm with you now. Is he from the United States? Is he from that area?
He's from Rhode Island. Yes.
Oh, he is?
He's
Oh, wow.
from Rhode Island. So
there
aren't many Rhode Islanders that make the NHL, but Nola Chari, who was actually also went to PC and from Rhode Island.
Yeah, John LeClair's another one.
Yeah, John LeClair. Brian Boucher, originally, he went to Mount St. Charles. So
okay, there you go.
Brian
That's
Boucher
real close to where you are, right?
Another Rhode Islander, but Brett Barrard from playing in his home state at PC, and looks like he is on track to be an NHL player.
Man, that's awesome, dude. And one thing that I've noticed over the last 3 or 4 seasons is a lot more players are tending to either choose to go up there and play for those particular, like Boston College or the colleges up there, to play for those college teams in that New England, Massachusetts type area. You know what I'm saying? And there's been a lot more really awesome prospects coming out of that area now as well, too.
Yes,
absolutely. In the NHL.
Yep.
In the NHL. So, man, that's awesome, dude. Those are 2 really great looking young players that are making impacts for their teams right now.
Absolutely. And I think that they're going to be players that are going to have very successful careers over the next, decade plus for these guys. And
you think maybe?
I mean, Lindell's already doing it at the NHL level.
Right.
And Barrard will have to see, but he looks really good in college right now.
And usually that's a good sign, especially if you play well in college, because that usually in hockey, that tends to translate better to the pro level than it does, say, like a football or something, you know what I mean? Where you can be a really, really good college player, but then that game just doesn't translate into the pro level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think college hockey, where you see guys that come from really good college hockey programs like Providence, like Boston, like, some of the colleges that are up there, you know what I'm saying? And then those guys make it to the NHL. They're usually pretty well-rounded players.
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
Yeah,
sure.
You know what I mean? So Wow,
Oh,
man. There you go, brother. This was episode 41.
yes.
Wow. John, I can't thank you enough for all the hard work you do, man. Look, if you folks aren't following Off the Wall Hockey, and if you guys aren't listening to his streams and checking out his games that he calls, then you guys are missing out on the GOAT. Okay, we do not call him the greatest of all time for no reason. We don't mention that lightly. Okay, I would much rather any time out of 10 listen to John calling a game than anybody else out there. Well, with the exception of Jim Jackson. But I'm a homer, so I'm allowed to be. Okay, what? John, thank you very much for all you do, man. I love being here doing this show with you, man. This is something I look forward to every Friday. I love being here talking hockey with you, brother. Thank you very much for all you do.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being on. And we got another great episode in the books here as the NHL season rolls along. And thank you to everybody for watching here as episode 41 comes to an end. We could not be here without you guys who are all watching and listening as well. So big thank you to all of you. This was the Off the Wall Hockey Show, a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. Episode 42 will be coming up next week. We will have a whole other week of NHL action to talk about, and more storylines, more great players, more great teams.
Oh, man.
And
Oh, man.
another whole set of things to talk about as the season goes on. But again, thank you guys so much. Thank you to Steele, my co-host. Thank you for another great week of NHL coverage here. And have a great weekend, everybody. Hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. And with that, good night.